Hey, what is going on, guys? RvzStealth here, and in today's video we're going to be updating the best champions for low elo video. So season 9 is coming to an end in a couple of months here, and I wanted to update this video a little bit earlier than, say, like a month before the end of the season, because in my opinion you should have a champion pool set and just roll with it for a while. You shouldn't be like making a new champion pool within the last week of the season or something like that and then jumping into rank with that champion pool. It just doesn't work like that. You should set a champion pool for yourself, roll with it for a couple of months, stay consistent with it, and that's why I wanted to update this video here a couple months before this season, so it does give you guys enough time to choose your champions that you want to play and be consistent with them. And then format for the video, we're going to be going over every single role and taking a look at, in my opinion, the 4 strongest for each role. I'll also have some timestamps down below for you guys, so if you do want to jump ahead to a certain role that you main, then you can take a look down in the comments or in the description, and there should be a timestamp there for you. So to start off in the top lane, we got Garen, Yorick, Urgot, and Malphite. So for Garen, he does very well in low elo against a lot of the most picked champions you see down there. So you see a lot of Yasuo, a lot of Riven, Aurelia, Renekton, just a lot of melee bruiser champions. Garen can do very well into those types of champions. He's also a pick that's very easy to execute. There's not a ton of learning, or it doesn't take you too long to pick up the champion. You're going to be able to, I'd say, play like 10 games on the pick, and you should know how to play him at a pretty good level after those 10 games. So it's not like it's going to take you a long time to get the hang of the champion and have success on him. You should have some pretty good success with Garen almost as soon as you do pick him up. In my opinion, hands down, the best split push top laner for the lower elos is Yorick. So if that's your playstyle, if you like to split push, if you want to be in the side lane, then definitely add Yorick to your champion pool. One of the best and easiest to execute like 1v2 champions. When you're in the side lane and you have your ultimate up, it's going to be very difficult for the enemies to try to 1v2 you. If you do have a lead, you're going to find yourself turning a lot of those scenarios, and you're going to end up getting double kills for yourself. He's a super fast tower taking champion as well. Once you get Trinity Force, you got your Sheen procs there. You also run Demolish on the champion if you want to. You can just destroy towers. So if the enemy team just leaves you in the side lane and they leave you to split push, then you're just going to end up cracking the enemy's base very early on, and you can just draw a ton of pressure with this champion in the side lane. Now for the Urgot pick, he's a very versatile top lane champion. He's a little bit better teamfight champion than Garen and Yorick are, in my opinion, but he can also split push very well too. So you're not really limited to doing one thing when you play this champion. If you want a team fight, if you're ahead, you can do that. If your team's not doing too well and you need to draw pressure in the side lane and split push, then you can also do that. He does have great matchups too. Similar to Garen, he does very well into a lot of the most picked bruisers. So things like that, Aurelia, Riven, Yasuo, Urgot can do exceptionally well into as well. And then for Malphite, just a very good team fight top lane champion. If you want to play a straight up team fight top laner, Malphite is going to be the pick to go for. He's always going to have some sort of presence in a game due to the fact that if the enemies are just grouped up, you get that one good ultimate off in a team fight, then that can just single-handedly win you the game. So make sure that you are trying to focus more on just grouping with your team when you're playing Malphite. You don't really want to be in the side lane. You want to just shove out the side lane, look to group with your team, and you're going to have a lot of success if you do that on Malphite. Now moving into the jungle, I got Volibear, Rammus, Amumu, and Jax as my top 4. So for Volibear, just a very underrated jungle pick. He's a champion that's gotten a couple of different buffs over the past few months here. He has been getting stronger. He still has a very low pick rate though, but he does perform extremely well. With Volibear, you have the luxury of just building him full tank, but you're still dealing a ton of damage with the pick. Your W can output a ton of damage. Your W does scale with your HP, so the more HP you buy, the more damage you do there with your W, and that's why a lot of players do like to go for Warmogs pretty early on Volibear. He also does have great dueling potential for a jungler. Players are always going to underestimate Volibear's dueling potential in the early game, so you're going to find yourself at level 3 in a lot of 1v1 scenarios. If you proc your Aftershock and you have your passive up, you'd be surprised as to how many 1v1s you can win with Volibear. So he does have pretty solid dueling potential in the early game. His ganks are pretty easy to execute. Once you get your Righteous Glory as well, your engages are actually not that bad. A lot of people complain that Volibear's engage is pretty weak because he just gets kited, but if you do end up going for Righteous Glory, it's actually pretty easy for you to find engages, especially in the lower elos where players aren't going to be able to kite as well. Now for Rammus, a lot of players just don't like to play him because he's boring and they just don't find fun on the champion, but if you're in that position and you have not tried Moby Boots and Righteous Glory on Rammus, then definitely look to try that out, because Moby Boots on Rammus in the early game just allows you to get around the map super quickly. It makes your ganks pretty much foolproof. Like, it's going to be very difficult for the enemies to get away from a Rammus coming in with his Q and Moby Boots and just taunting you. As long as your team does have some sort of follow-up crowd control as well, it's pretty much guaranteed kills with this champion when you are ganking in the early game. So I'd say if you do want to play a jungler who can gank very effectively in the early game and just continue to gank, get his lanes rolling, then Rammus would be the pick I'd go for on this list. Now for Amumu, he definitely does lack gank potential in the early game. He isn't the strongest dueling jungler in the early game, but he does have a very good mid to late game. His team fight is super good, so games are going to last longer in the lower elos. You're going to get into team fights a lot more, and because players are constantly gonna be looking to team fight, Amumu can thrive in that kind of environment. As long as you can get multi-man ultimates off with this champion, if you can be looking for those flash engages when the enemy team is grouped up, then you are gonna find yourself having a lot of success on Amumu. And then for the Jax pick, one of the strongest skirmishing junglers out of the four here. So if you're looking for a jungler with a little bit more damage, a little bit more solo carry potential, then I would lean towards Jax. He does great for the lower elos, especially because you do see a ton of Master Yi, a ton of Xin Zhao, and a lot of Lee Sin too. So these junglers, I guess Lee Sin isn't as much auto attack reliant, but he is still. But Master Yi and Xin Zhao, definitely very auto attack reliant champions. And if you can just time your counter strike correctly with Jax, you're gonna completely counter those champions. Once you do get a Trinity Force on Jax, you're gonna be able to 1v1 almost every single jungler in the game. And if you do get into like 2v2, 3v3 scenarios with Jax in the early to mid game, then it's a great skirmishing jungler, so you're gonna come on top on a lot of those in the early game. Now moving on to the mid lane, we got Mal's, Malphite, Swain, and Veigar. So for Malzahar, I don't think I need to go too much into detail about him. He's pretty much always on this kind of a list because he's just a champion that's super easy to execute, always gonna be useful on Malzahar because of your ultimate, because of your AoE silence, and he's a champion that just doesn't really take a ton of time to get used to. Play 10 games of Malzahar and you're gonna start having a lot of success on him, so definitely look to pick up Malz. I think that if you do want to climb for the lower elos from the mid lane, then you should at least have Malz in your champion pool. Now for the Malphite pick, you might think this is a little bit of a troll pick, but full AP Malphite into things like Katarina, Zed, Yasuo, Talon, just these squishy mid lane champions. If you play this Malphite pick into them and you reach the mid game, there's just no counterplay to it, and you just burst out these assassins before they can even do anything to your team. So I guess you're basically playing this Malphite like an assassin. You're just trying to one-shot the enemy high priority target in a team fight, and it's very, very easy to do. All you gotta do, like if you can hit your ultimate with Malphite, you're going to get the one shot off. So if the enemy team has a fed AD carry, or if they got a fed mid laner and they're a squishy champion, then just look to prioritize them in team fights. Swain, a very good mid to late game team fight champion. You can just soak a ton of damage in fights with Swain. You can build him pretty much full AP, but you are going to be very tanky, so he's just a great pick for the lower elos because of that. He's also a champion that does thrive a lot more in the lower elos than the higher elos because players aren't going to be building as much healing reduction, so you're not going to see as many Executioner's Callings, not as much Morellonomicons, and that's going to allow Swain to just heal a lot more in team fights, stay alive for even longer. And then for the Veigar pick, I don't think this champion's received a single buff or a nerf for the past couple of months here, maybe even the past year, so this champion is going to be staying on this list. Veigar is a pick that just does very well in the lower elos because games do tend to last longer, so you're going to be able to get your stacks up there with your Q, you're going to be able to get a ton of AP on this champion, and you're just going to be able to one-shot pretty much by just point and clicking. Q ultimate in a mid to late game team fight on a squishy target, a lot of the time is going to one-shot them, so he's got a pretty easy to execute combo. His zone in team fights is super good as well with his event horizon, with his E there, so you're gonna be able to find picks with that. You're gonna be able to zone enemies off of objectives super well with that, so I just really like Veigar. Great team fight, great mid to late game champion that's very easy to execute. Now, if we take a look at the AD carry role, my top 4 are going to be Jinx, MF, Xayah, and Sivir. Now, if I wasn't staying consistent with the top 4 throughout this video, I'd probably just say for AD carry, there's just one pick that you should be looking to play and that you should have in your champion pool, and that being Miss Fortune. So Miss Fortune, the main reason to why I just think she is a lot better than most other AD carries if you want to climb out of the lower elos is because she just requires a lot less mechanical skill and a lot less micromanagement in order for you to get your damage off, and in order for you to succeed in mid to late game team fights. You are going to be building lethality on Miss Fortune, so your auto attacks are going to hurt a lot, your Q is going to hurt a lot, and most importantly, your ultimate is going to hurt a ton in mid to late game fights. So all you got to really do in the mid to late game with Miss Fortune to succeed is get a good ultimate off. When your team looks for an engage, when they CC the enemy team, you just press R on Miss Fortune and your job is done there. For Jinx, Xayah, and Sivir, they're all pretty strong AD carries. Jinx is a very good snowbally AD carry. If you can reach the mid to late game with Jinx, or if you can just reach your mid game spike of IE and Runins, then you're going to start to come online really well. You are going to have great team fight presence with Jinx. For Xayah, she is pretty good for the lower elos. She's pretty good throughout all elos right now because she just is great into a lot of high mobility compositions. There's just so much mobility in the game at the moment, so many dive champions being played, and Xayah's ultimate there, Xayah's kiting potential in mid to late game fights does allow her to just succeed a lot more than most other AD carries due to the fact that she can just peel off of those dive champions, kite back, and she's not going to get bursted out right away. And then for Sivir, despite the nerf she has received over the past couple of months here, I do still think she is a solid pick for the lower elos. You're always going to provide your team something with Sivir, which is why I do think she's a great champion, whether it be wave clear, whether it be team fight potential. You have the ability to either stall out a game for Sivir, allow your team to reach the mid to late game because of your amazing wave clear. You have the ability to, if your team is ahead, look to just press R, look to engage, and just look to continue snowballing the game out of control. So she just has a lot of different things in her kit that does make her a great champion and a great pick for the lower elos. And then lastly, to round out the video, down in the support role, we got Zyra, Brand, Nautilus, and Lux. So notice a trend with these 4 champions here. All of them have high damage potential, all of them have pretty good CC in their kits, and most importantly, all of them can carry by themselves. They don't rely on their team in order to carry games, which I think is very important down in the support role if you want to climb from that role in the lower elos. So for Zyra, she is actually getting buffed in next patch. So that's really good. She is going to be getting even stronger here, and I just think that Zyra is the best out of all 4 of these champions just because she has a great laning phase. She's got a great mid to late game as well. There's not really a weak point to Zyra's game. Some matchups she can struggle against, so if you're up against things like Blitz or Thresh in the laning phase, just make sure you are staying behind minion waves. If you can do that and you just don't end up getting hooked randomly in lane, then you're still going to have success in those matchups. So I just think that Zyra is a great pick if you want to climb from the lower elo. And then for Brand, also a great team fight support champion. Press R with this champion in a mid to late game team fight and just watch your damage go up. You're gonna see yourself dealing the most damage a lot of the time when you do play Brand along with Zyra. Just both these champions can pump out an immense amount of damage in mid to late game fights. And then for Nautilus, really good early game snowball potential in this champion's kit. He's not gonna blow you out of the water in terms of damage like Zyra and Brand are, but he is in terms of providing his team with crowd control and really good snowball potential in the laning phase. So if you just hit that one hook in lane with Nautilus, burn the enemy's flash, if you can hit the next hook after that, it's gonna be a guaranteed kill. You just have so much crowd control with this champion, and especially once you do hit level 6, you just press R on the enemy AD carry and you just watch them die, especially in mid to late game team fights as well. If you can just use your ultimate on the high priority target on the enemy team, just press R on them, then you are gonna have a lot of success playing this Nautilus. And then lastly here for Lux, she's basically a more supportive version of a Zyra and Brand if you want to think of it like that. She does deal quite a bit of damage like Zyra and Brand do, but she also does have some more supportive qualities in her kit with her shield there from her W that actually did just get buffed recently as well, so it does make her a stronger pick. She does have great pick potential in her kit though, great for the lower elos. If you can just find picks with your Q constantly with Lux, especially in mid to late game fights, then you can carry very easily on this support champion. So all 4 of these supports, very good picks if you are looking to climb out of the lower elos. So that is going to be all for this video, guys. Good luck with your climbs for the end of the season here. Hopefully this video is helpful, and hopefully it does help you construct your champion pool going into the last few months of the season. With that being said though, guys, if you did enjoy the video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you have yet to already. So thanks for watching, have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.